My name's Harriet. I hack your AI so the bad guys can't. Welcome back to another episode, and today we're talking about AI security and national security. So we've touched on national security implications of AI a couple of times already in the series. I've talked about AI applications in military and defense contexts, and the reason that I keep circling back to this is because it's a topic I find particularly interesting. Now, you might not know this by looking at me or assume this, but as you know, for the last 8 years, I've worked at the intersection of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. And for the majority of this time, this has actually been in a defense context. So the first job I had was in consulting. It was just a normal Big Four consulting company, much as I hate to admit that. And it was I got some great experience there. But actually, most of the projects that I were on were defense projects. I was on 2 Navy projects for 2 years, and then there was 6 months on an Air Force project. And then the other 6 months I was there was on a different, public sector technology implementation project. But the 2.5 years that I worked in defense there, it was mostly on things like traditional data remediation, which is just making their data better. But it was all in the context of then being able to prepare their environment for adding data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And then obviously the last 3 years before my current role, I worked in government. So I got a really interesting perspective of the different kinds of challenges that at least the Australian defence services have when it comes to maturing to a point where you can then incorporate artificial intelligence, but also what this means from a governance and a policy perspective. This is a really interesting way to delve into potential AI-related applications in military and national security contexts as well. For example, in the cybersecurity world, the idea of grey zone conflict is something that has emerged due to the cybersecurity threat. So in traditional military engagements, you'd have either a hot or a cold conflict. So a hot conflict is when there is kinetic action, which means there's, guns going, tanks firing, all that kind of stuff. And a cold conflict is when there isn't actually any kinetic action, but there is clear political hostility and rivalry, for example, the Cold War. Now, grey zone conflict is when you don't technically have kinetic action, but you do have some kind of computer or network-based action. So there might be spying, intelligence gathering going on, there might be malware being put on other people's networks, there might be attacks on critical infrastructure that are facilitated by the internet and by computers. And so this has been really difficult to fit into existing laws of war, which were built on either hot or cold conflicts. So this idea of grey zone conflict is something that has recently had to be developed as a theory in both the technical and policy realms of national security. So just like cybersecurity, the intersection of artificial intelligence and national security is a new but rapidly evolving field. And AI has the potential to revolutionize many aspects of national security, from defense and intelligence to cybersecurity and border security. However, AI also obviously poses new security challenges, such as the risk of AI-enabled cyber attacks and the development of autonomous weapon systems, and what would happen if those AI systems are hacked. So as you know, my focus is on AI security, which is more about the likelihood that adversaries could hack into someone's AI, but this episode is also going to touch on different uses of AI in this context as well, because it just makes more sense in this context. So what even is national security? National security is the protection of a nation's political, economic, and social systems from internal and external threats. So it's actually quite a broad concept, and it encompasses a wide range of issues including military defense, intelligence gathering, cybersecurity, and disaster preparedness. So a lot of people don't realize that national security is also about economic and social security, but these are just as important as, military and defense security. So this means that within national security, there's a lot of different disciplines and people who are involved. And the different disciplines include things like political science, which is the study of political systems and how they function. There is international relations, which is the study of relations between countries. There is military science, which is the study of warfare and military strategy. There is intelligence studies, which is the study of how to gather and analyze information about threats to national security. There is cybersecurity, so the study of how to protect computer systems and networks from attack. There is disaster preparedness, which is the study of how to prevent and respond to natural natural disasters and other emergencies. And people who work in national security jobs come from a variety of backgrounds and professions. So these could be military officers, intelligence analysts, diplomats, lawyers, or scientists. And their work may involve anything from developing new weapon systems to responding to cyber attacks. So it's important that different countries work together to improve national security in a number of ways. They may share intelligence information, they could cooperate on military operations, or work together to develop new technologies. A good example of this is AUKUS, which is relevant to Australia, my own country, and was making the news headlines quite a lot recently because we were originally hiring a French company to create our submarines. We ended up cancelling that. It was a big deal, which is between Australia, the UK and the US, and it's to build nuclear-powered submarines. This is an example of sharing both intelligence, cooperation on military operations, because these submarines would therefore be interoperable with the defence forces of those three nations, and then working together to develop new technologies. Now, there are also, of course, international organisations that promote peace and security, like the United Nations. It's also important to note that national security is a shared responsibility. It's not just the job of the government, but it's something that's also important for individuals and businesses to keep in mind. For example, in the context of cybersecurity, it's often businesses who have a lot of threat intelligence about different cyber attacks. Like if a nation-state actor is trying to steal data from some company, that company would have a lot of information about that threat actor. And it's pretty common for companies to therefore share that information with other companies and governments to protect as many people and organisations as possible from that threat actor. Now, there's an interesting history of the intersection of technology and national security. You can go back as far as you like when it comes to technology, but let's start with cybersecurity. So the intersection of cybersecurity and national security is not really new. In the early days of computing, for example, computers were used to break enemy codes and develop nuclear weapons. Breaking enemy codes goes as far back as any war, but using machines or computers to do this sort of dates back to World War II. In the 1970s, the development of the internet led to new challenges for national security, such as the spread of disinformation and the proliferation of cyber weapons. Actually, I've given a talk at cybersecurity conferences before with my good friend Mike Pritchard. I'm going to link a YouTube video here because he's a collector of Soviet-era spy gear. So cool, like he has the biggest collection. And we did a talk together on the different encryption and decryption devices that he has, because he has a massive collection of SIGINT, or signals intelligence equipment as well. So I highly recommend you go watch that. Now, in recent years, the rise of cyber warfare has further highlighted the importance of technology in national security. Cyber attacks have become increasingly sophisticated and destructive, and they pose a serious threat to critical infrastructure, government networks, and even military systems. The rise of cybersecurity has also had a significant impact on national security. Cyber attacks can be used to steal sensitive information, disrupt critical infrastructure, and even launch physical attacks. This has led to a growing need for countries to invest in cybersecurity measures. Big examples here include IP theft, sensitive designs for a number of different military, but also critical infrastructure related technologies have been known to be stolen by nation states and used for those countries. Also, Stuxnet is an example of a really high profile attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. I often talk about Stuxnet because it's an example of a really complicated piece of malware. So this means that it's increasingly important for governments and organisations to invest in securing systems. And there are a lot of different people involved in this kind of work. There are security analysts, so these are professionals who monitor computer systems and networks for signs of attack. There are incident responders, which are professionals responsible for responding to those cyber attacks. There are security architects, so people who design and implement security solutions. There are security researchers, people who develop new security technologies and techniques. I should also mention here that although I'm talking about it at the government and business level, it's also really important as individuals that we're conscious of our cybersecurity defenses. The most common vector for a threat actor to get into a system is not through the government or the business itself, but it's the individuals who work in those places. So that's why it's really important that we're conscious of having good cybersecurity hygiene, not just so that we can protect ourselves and, not have a card skimmed or something, but also so that other actors can't get into our businesses or any other organizations that we might be involved with. Cyber attacks can also be very costly. In 2021, the global cost of cybercrime was estimated to be around $6 trillion. Cyber attacks have a significant impact on national security. They can disrupt critical infrastructure, steal sensitive information, and even launch physical attacks. So AI has the potential to revolutionize many aspects of national security. AI can be used for cybersecurity. AI systems are being used to detect and respond to cyber attacks. They can be used to scan for malicious code, identify suspicious activity, and even predict future attacks. AI can also be used for intelligence gathering. So AI systems are being used to analyze large amounts of data to identify trends, threats, and patterns. They can also be used to track terrorist activity, monitor social media, and even predict natural disasters. AI can also be used in weapon systems. AI systems are being used to develop new weapon systems that are more accurate and efficient. They can also be used to control drones, target missiles, and even make decisions about when to use lethal force. AI can be used in border security. So AI systems are being used to monitor borders already and detect illegal activity. They can also be used to scan for people and vehicles, identify suspicious activity, and even predict future threats. We've probably all interacted with some kind of AI when we've gone through some country's border and we've had to do that face scan at the passport gate. AI can also be used for critical infrastructure protection. So AI systems are being used to protect critical infrastructure from cyber attacks and other threats. They can be used to monitor systems for signs of attack, identify vulnerabilities, and even respond to incidents. So I'm going to dive here specifically into AI for military purposes because we hear about it discussed a lot, but for someone who isn't really familiar with defense and the military, it's hard to imagine specifically what kinds of uses it might have. And obviously the use of AI in both national security and the military, but specifically the military where there might be kinetic or lethal force involved, has a much higher standard of governance and risk management that it has to meet. So some potential uses for AI in the military include target identification and tracking. So AI can be used to identify and track targets more accurately and efficiently than humans. This could be used to improve the accuracy of airstrikes or to target enemy combatants more effectively. AI can also be used in cyber warfare. So AI can be used to develop more sophisticated cyber attacks as well as to defend against them. This could have a significant impact on the ability of nations to wage war in the cyber domain. AI can also be used for logistics and supply chain management. So AI can optimize logistics and supply chain management, which can improve the efficiency of military operations. And this could be used to reduce the cost of war or to improve the sustainability of military forces. This is definitely something that's been important in the Ukraine invasion. AI can be used for decision making. So AI can be used to help decision makers make better decisions in complex and uncertain situations. Now, the use of AI in the military naturally raises a number of ethical and legal concerns. For example, the potential for AI to be used to harm civilians or to create autonomous weapon systems that operate without human oversight is a really big concern. However, the potential benefits of AI for national security are also significant, and particularly in something like nation-state conflict, where you would have some states more willing to adopt AI at a higher risk tolerance than others. Now, given the massive implications of AI misuse in this domain, it's really important to consider AI safety, but also security here. I mean, the security of AI in this sphere is a very critical issue, because if AI systems are not properly secured, they could be hacked or manipulated, which could have very serious consequences. I should also point out here, however, that AI does also have the potential to make military conflicts less lethal. I mean, people often worry about use of AI for things like drone strikes, but the thing is that drones are already used to strike people, and if the AI could somehow make that more precise and less likely to kill civilians, if this is something that kills fewer people, I mean, that's a benefit. But of course, there has to be a big risk management process involved in integrating AI into these situations, because even if that AI system might make a strike less lethal, you then of course have to balance out the potential that the AI will be incorrect, or that there might be too much trust placed on the AI system, or that the AI systems might not be trusted enough and are just not used by military personnel? These are all big questions. So in addition to the security challenges mentioned above, there are also other ethical and legal issues associated with the use of AI in national security. For example, there is the question of who should control AI systems and how to ensure that they're used in a responsible and ethical manner. There is also the question of how to prevent AI systems from being used to violate human rights or international law. A lot of people who create or advise on international laws are not necessarily experts in the technology, and nor should they have to be, right? But there has to be a good process of making sure that experts can be called upon to advise on these things. The other interesting dimension here in a national security context is that AI for national security could obviously influence kinetic action from the military, but AI for national security could also involve, helping someone to write up an intelligence report. And that's a pretty low risk activity. So you need to be really conscious again of thinking about it from a risk perspective. If an AI system were to be hacked or manipulated in some way, what is the actual outcome of that, and what kind of risks does that pose? And for all national security contexts, that's usually a little higher. But just as any business has, back office processes that are really boring and could be automated, so too do national security organizations. So just because national security has higher risk obligations doesn't mean that you should necessarily mandate against AI use when it can be used in a beneficial and positive way. So I find this topic really fascinating, as you can probably tell, and I love listening to different podcasts and reading books about not just AI or cyber for national security, but national security in general. And for any viewers out there who are interested in this area, for all areas, I highly recommend breadth in general. I think that in order to have good opinions and good points of view on new technologies, it's important to have a really good understanding of the broader context, not just of that technology, but of the potential ways that it could be used and about other technologies. I mean, every conference I go to that's about something really far outside my expertise, I end up taking away a lot of things that are actually really applicable to my own field of work. And national security is a genuinely fascinating, cool area to look into. So I'm going to recommend a few resources here that you can dive into if you're interested in learning more. So the first thing I recommend is Darknet Diaries. I already mentioned this in a previous episode, but it's really good because it talks about different cybersecurity stories, but a lot of them have national security implications, and it's cool to hear about it from the technology perspective and not just the policy or political science or international relations perspective. The other resource I recommend is this podcast called True Spies. It's really good, lots of real stories about sort of different intelligence operations around the world. It's also narrated by Vanessa Kirby, and she is one of my favorite actresses, so I just honestly like listening to her voice. A good movie to watch is War Games from 1983. It's one of the movies that a lot of people who end up working in national security and cyber talk about when asked, why did you choose this career? So if you haven't already watched it, you should go see it. I've read a lot of books on this topic. I can't quite remember. Peter Singer is an author I remember at the top of my head. The other one, sorry, don't mind me, I decided to actually pop out and get a few of these books so that I could show them to you. Ghost Fleet, so as I mentioned, by Peter Singer and August Cole. Very good. The question is, what would World War III look like? So you should go read that. Digital Fortress by Dan Brown, actually one of the best books I've read, I think. I don't know what that says about me. I really enjoyed it. These are two books that I read as a teenager that are just really great. The Alex Rider series and the Robert Muchamore Cherub series. If you're older, read them, you'd still love them. If you're a teenager watching this, get them now. And Accessory to War by Neil deGrasse Tyson and Avis Lang. Really good. The unspoken alliance between astrophysics and the military. So if you're more into science or astrophysics, astronomy, that's the book for you. Okay, we're now at that time. It's the AI joke of the week, your favorite time of the week. Okay, let's see what we have. Okay, what's an AI's favorite dance? The algorithm shuffle. I don't like that. Okay, how do you make a neural network laugh? You show it some bite-sized data here. BYTE, by the way. Okay, well, now that's over. Please comment below if you have any other like cool resources to recommend, any other books or podcasts or movies. I'd love to know about them. And please like and subscribe. Show me some love and support. We're now at episode 7, so we're really getting there. And the next episode is going to dive into something that we've talked a bit about today actually, AI for cybersecurity. So while I'm always telling people that I don't work in AI for cybersecurity, I work in the security of AI themselves. Obviously, it's a hat that I often have to put on sometimes, and it is something that we have to talk about at some point. So that is going to be the next episode. I'll see you then.